The system of the Yamim Noraim is set up so that we will achieve perfection by Motzi Yom Kippur. It's a guarantee that if we will just follow the system, follow the rules, it will work. And the rules for how to be successful on Rosh Hashanah are more well-known. It requires some study, but many people have studied how to be successful on Rosh Hashanah. Many people have studied what to do during the 10 days. Many people have delved into Yom Kippur and understand what the avoda of Yom Kippur is practically and how to succeed on Yom Kippur. However, Selichos remains, for many people, a mystery. And it's not even clear to most people, is this part of Judaism? Is this a crazy chumrah? It's a minhag? This is sort of like a version of kitniot? What exactly is this thing? So, Selichos go back long before Chazal. They certainly are part of Chazal in that tradition, but it goes long back before Chazal. And I want to go into the root of Selichos and where the whole thing began and try to understand, how do you do it? What is the secret? What is the purpose of Selichos, and how do you operate this machine? All in 18 minutes. Okay. So, the first Selichot service took place immediately after the Chet HaEgel, the sin of the golden calf. And it was conducted by none other than HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. When the scene opens, Moshe Rabbeinu has begged Hashem, please don't destroy the Jewish people. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, Hareini nas kvodecha, show me your kavod. Generally, kavod means, when we're talking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, your midos. Show me your midos. And Hashem responds, Ve'avor Hashem al panav. Hashem appears to Moshe Rabbeinu, and there's this very strange language, Vayavor Hashem al panav. I guess I would translate it as Hashem passed before his face, but it doesn't say whose face it's talking about. Hashem passed before his face. There's only two characters here, Moshe Rabbeinu and Hashem. Hashem passed before whose face? So the Gemara gets into this question. Vayikra, and he called out. He now we know is Hashem. Hashem called out. Hashem, kel rachum v'chanun, erech apayim v'chesed v'emes, no tzerchesed lalafim, no si'avon v'feshev v'chatav, and akei the 13 midos. Vayomer, and Hashem said, Hinei anochi kores bris neged kol amcha. I am making a bris with you on these 13 words that I just taught you. Okay, so what actually happened here? The Gemara explains. This is Gemara in Rosh Hashanah Yud Zayin. Yud Zayin Amud Beis. V'yavor Hashem al panav. What does this verse mean? Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan taught, if it didn't say it literally in the pasuk, Ef Shar La'omer, you could never say such a thing. What's that? What you couldn't say is, what's about to be described in the Gemara, that Hashem dressed up as a shaliach tzibbur. V'yavor Hashem al panav, he wrapped himself in a white tallis that went across his face. Melamed shenitate v'kodesh baruch hu k'shaliach tzibur, he wrapped himself up like a shaliach tzibur, and he showed to Moshe Rabbeinu this Seder HaTfilah, these tefillas to say these 13 midos. Amarlo, Hashem said to Moshe, Kol zman Yisrael chotin, anytime the Jews will ever sin, Yasu lefanai keseder hazeh, do this Seder in front of me. I want to point out, God did not say, anytime this happens, say this prayer. He didn't say that. He said, do this in front of me. Not say, do. So, the Maharsha here tries to explain what is going on. At the end of the Maharsha's comment, he says, And I found in an old Sefer of Kabbalah that a Kodesh Baruch Hu wrapped himself up in this tallis. It was a white tallis, and it was the same white tallis that he wrapped himself up in at the time that he created the universe. Like the verse in Tehillim says, Ote or Kasalma. God wrapped himself in light like a garment. And this garment shined from one end of the world to the other. And the Maharsha just concludes, and there in this ancient Kabbalistic text, it explains everything. And I don't have that Kabbalistic text. So what is going on here? What actually happened? So there's a Midrash Rabbah. Midrash Rabbah I've got. Midrash Rabbah we have in our hands. And there in Midrash Rabbah the following conversation took place. Reb Shimon ben Yotzedek asked Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachman. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachman was known as an expert in explaining the deep stories of our tradition, the deep stories of the Talmud. So Rabbi Shimon asked Rabbi Shmuel, this expert in explaining stories, what is going on in this story? He went on and said, where did light come from? Now, I believe that, at least according to the Pashup Pshat of this Medrash, when he asked, where did light come from? He meant light, with the stuff that we see, the stuff that comes down from the sun, the way that we relate to the world, the light that we see. Where did it come from? And Reb Shmuel bar Nachman, this expert in explaining stories, says, this comes to teach us that a Kodesh Baruch Hu wrapped himself up in a tallis, and the light from that tallis shined from one end of the world to the other, exactly what this Kabbalist said, so now we know it's talking about the same thing. And then the Kabbalist, Reb Shmuel bar Nachman said, and I am telling you this whole thing in a whisper. This is secret. Just leave this way. Oh, okay, that's good. I'm telling you this whole thing as a secret.
Which way? This way?
So, Rav Shimon, who asked the question, said, why are you whispering? And Rav Shmuel said, it's a deep secret. I have to whisper. So Rav Shimon said, what kind of a deep secret is it? It's an explicit verse in Tehillim that says that God wrapped himself in a white tallis. He wrapped himself in a cloak of light when he created the universe. So what's the secret? Why are we whispering? So Rav Shlomo Wolbe, Zichrono Livracha, told me the secret. And I'm going to tell you the secret. The secret is hiding right in front of us. It's hiding right out there in the open. If you open up any Siddur and you turn to the very first bracha of Kriyat Shema, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam yotzer or vorech choshech. You created light, you made darkness. Oseh shalom, you do peace. Boreas hakol, you create everything. The next words, Hameir la'aretz u'ledarim aleha. You shine light, you enlighten the land and all who live there. The next word should be, with that light. But the next word is, Barachamim. What is that light? That light is Rachamim. Rav Shlomo Wolbe explained to me. When a Kodesh Baruch Hu created the world, it was supposed to be created b'din. The world couldn't survive with din. So a Kodesh Baruch Hu created the world with this thing called Rachamim. Rachamim is some deep spiritual thing that is completely beyond our comprehension, that was up there in a non-physical realm. And as the world unfolded into existence, this non-physical thing called Rachamim came down and then dropped like into liquid nitrogen, took on physical form, and the physical form that it took on was light. When you're looking at light, you're looking at Rachamim once it takes a physical form. Now, Rav Wolbe said, this is far deeper than we can understand. However, you want to see it in action? Light comes down and we need to breathe. right? Without air, we can't survive. Light comes down and it hits these little green cells in plants and it produces oxygen for us. Light comes down and it produces vitamin D in our body. Light comes down and it makes the rain fall. And light comes down and light is doing all the light enables us to do our voda because we can see. Light is constantly having this effect. Wherever light hits, the effect is it makes life not only possible but wonderful. That's just the effect of light. But light itself is pure spiritual rachamim that's now taken a physical form. So we now understand Moshe Rabbeinu said, please, they've sinned, save the Jewish nation. And God said, okay, I'll save the Jewish nation, but nothing's free. And therefore, when the Jews sin, when they're in trouble, and then Hashem acted out this whole thing. He dressed up as a shliach tzibbur, wrapped in a white tallis, which represented that light, and recited 13 middos. And therefore, at Selichos, we have a shaliach tzibbur who's going to stand in front of us, wrapped in a tallis, and he's going to recite 13 middos, and that's all I've got to do is open up that book and recite the middos? No. There's a secret here, but it should be obvious to you now. Two critical sources, and then we're going to go right to the end. The Meiri, in the base Bechira, Tainis, Daf Ches, Amar Aleph, says as follows. Every Jewish community, I, Baruch Hashem, have a Jewish community here. I found an amazing community. And my community did exactly what it says to do. Every Jewish community should go to a chassid, a special person, who will lead us in the davening of these 13 middos. And how much more so at the time of tsaros, says the Meiri. If it's a difficult time, you've got to do this. It's so important. He's talking to us right now. And he says, the kavana, bekol tzibbur v'tzibbur, the kavana in these communities is to appoint themselves a shaliach tzibbur, not to say the words for us. Liot shar hakahal mitorim al yado, that he will inspire all of us to awaken achmitoch hadrachato, such that through his living instruction that he provides by guiding us in Selichos, yagiu liot kulam kedoshim b'tocham Hashem. We will all achieve some spiritual level. He calls it kedusha. We will all achieve some spiritual level, and then Hashem will come and be close to us. So his job is not to tell us what page in the art scroll. I'll tell you what page very shortly. His job is to get us into a state where we can say these 13 things. The second source I need to share with you, and then I can reveal the whole thing. The second source is the Radbaz. The Radbaz was the chief rabbi of Egypt. This is in the period right between the Rishonim and the Achronim. He was the chief rabbi of Egypt, and then later on he moved to Tzfas. So the Radbaz says as follows. When he's describing what has to happen tonight, he says, step number one, the first thing you have to do is study a Kodesh Baruch Hu's Middos. That's on page 14 in your art scroll. You open it up and you see, what do each one of those words, Hashem, Kel Racham, B'chanu, and Erech Hapan, what do those words mean? Each one of those is describing some midah of Rachamim. Rachamim is a package. There's 13 facets to being a person who's merciful. You want to be merciful, Hashem says, you've got to get these 13 sub-midos. First thing is study them. In the old days, the Selichos used to start, this is pre-Gaonim, the Selichos used to start at Rosh Hashanah. They would go from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur. The Sfardim woke up and realized, we're not going to be ready. We won't understand those 13 middos if we just wait until Rosh Hashanah, and then it's too late. Therefore, the Sfardim added a few weeks. The Ashkenazim said, okay, at least we've got to add a few days in order to prepare so that when we get to Rosh Hashanah in a few days from now, we know what those 13 subsets of Middos are. Number one, study them. The Radbaz says, number two, Timsa sha'adam yachol lelechet behem. If you study them, then you can practice now, and especially during the 10 days, acting that way. Even if you haven't become those middos entirely, fake it till you make it. Try to look at those 13 middos and find some way to do that every single day, and I'll make recommendations. And number three, az tikra, then it will happen. V'Hashem yaneh, and Hashem will answer our prayers. He'll forgive us, He'll draw us close. But the Radbaz stresses, quote, V'lo b'haskaret midosav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu levad tekubal tfilaso. Just reading the 13 middos doesn't do it. He says, Amar kolzman Yisrael osin kedavar hazeh. It doesn't say anytime the Jews say these words. It says anytime the Jews do these words. Anytime that we act with these 13 sub-middos. Then ani mocha lahem. But you have to do it. You're looking for little windows during the next few days where you can pull this off, where you can do what you're about to sing tonight. V'kavana, the intention of Radbaz says, Kishiyasu keseder midosai. When you do the seder of my middos, when you do these 13 things, and they're so easy to do. I shouldn't say they're easy. It's easy to understand what to do. I have to say my bad middos make it a little bit more difficult for me to do it sometimes, but I can do it. So can you. We can all do it, especially when we understand what's at stake. He says, Keshiyasu keseder midosai v'lo shiazkiro tam b'peh. It's not enough that you say them out loud. You've got to do them. And I'll leave you with two stories and then practical recommendation. This is from the Medrash Bereshis Rabbah, Parshas Noach, Perek Lamed Gimel Gimel. The Gemara there tells two stories. The first story is, during the days of Rabbi Tanchuma, there was a drought, and people were starving. There wasn't enough water, things were not sprouting, people were starving. It was a disastrous situation. And the people came to Rabbi Tanchuma and said, please, please, declare a fast day. So Rabbi Tanchuma understood the people are ready to do tshuva. If they're ready to do tshuva, let's do it. And Rabbi Tanchuma named the day and said, this is going to be a fast day. And the people fasted. And nothing happened. So Rabbi Tanchuma understood, and he declared a second fast day. And every single person in the community fasted. And nothing happened. And there was a third fast day, and nothing happened. And then there were some people in the community who saw somebody doing something that was asur. Not well-known halacha, when a couple gets divorced, chas chalila, when a couple gets divorced, they are not allowed to engage in business together. They can't do a business deal together. And the community saw this man and this woman who they thought were divorced doing business. He was handing her a bunch of cash. And the community went to Rabbi Tanchuma and said, maybe this is it. Maybe this is what we should be focusing on. And Rabbi Tanchuma sent a message and called them in. Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on here? How are you related? We're divorced. What's the business transaction? And they both started to cry. They said, there's no business transaction here. We're divorced. Sometimes in divorces there can be hard feelings. It's not uncommon. But I saw my ex-wife was struggling financially. And I couldn't stand to see her struggling financially, and so I took a wad of my cash and I handed it to her. And Rabbi Tanchuma broke down and he said, Ribono shel Olam, you are a merciful God. And we are the children of Avram, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. And this is your people. Look at their mercy. And you won't have mercy? And it started to pour. The Midrash goes on. And the Midrash says, exact same Midrash, just continuation. That famous story, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi was sitting outside of a base Midrash, a shul in Sipori, and an innocent calf that was headed for slaughter bolted. And it ran towards Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, and it somehow communicates to Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, please, save my life. I'm about to be slaughtered. And Rabbi Yehuda Nasi said, what can I say to you? This is what you were created for. And Rabbi Yehuda Nasi was struck with terrible toothaches for 13 years. For 13 years he suffered terribly. Sometime during that 13 years, he understood that we cannot view the entire world with glasses that are attuned only to function and efficiency and what is the purpose of something, and we've got to make sure that purpose is achieved, and this calf is meant to be slaughtered, and therefore it should be slaughtered, and it's not a bad thing. There's also an inyan of rachamim. Even if the cow has to be slaughtered, that's how you speak to a cow who's terrified? And the story concludes, when did Rabbi Yehuda Nasi's pain end? His daughter was in the house and there was a creepy crawly thing, some sort of bug. And she was going to do what any normal woman would do when she sees a creepy crawly thing, which was she was going to smash it with a shoe. And Rabbi Yehuda Nasi said, no. The pasuk says, Rachamav al kol masav. His mercy extends to all of his creatures. If you don't need to kill it, if you can get it out of the house, then do that instead. And his toothaches ended. The key to achieving Hashem's mercy is a secret, but it's so simple. It's hiding out there in obvious places. All we have to do is be merciful. There's that fellow that said something that was so hurtful to me. He did it in public. And the neighbor who has always been so cold, and the guy in shul who doesn't treat me right, and someone actually stole from me. And they haven't paid me back. Now, how can I be nice to any of these people? I'm not saying to be mavato on a debt. Mavato on the debt. I'm saying, is it possible for me to be nice to them? Do I have to kill every animal that gets in my way or terrify the cat? I have to terrify the cat in order to make sure the cat doesn't do whatever, it doesn't come into my house. I have to terrify it. There are people who, during the Chagim, will not have places to eat. We're used to, there's the yeshiva guys and there's the seminary girls. There's lots of other people also who don't have places to eat for a variety of reasons. There is so much opportunity to practice every different shade, every different tone and color of these 13 sub-middos. But the first thing that we have to do is we have to read them and understand that's all he is waiting for. That's what we've been asking ourselves. This whole crazy period we've been living in. We've been asking, what is he waiting for? And the answer is, he told us back at Sinai, it's a secret hidden in plain sight. And from what I've been seeing in recent days, I am 100% confident that Klal Yisrael has figured it out. and that we are going to walk in to these Yamim Tovim much, much more prepared, not just saying the Shlosh Esrei Middos, but B'siyata D'Ishmaya, living the Shlosh Esrei Middos. And in the merit of that, this year we're going to see inklings of Geula. B'siyata D'Ishmaya.
If you'd like more free classes from Rabbi Kelemen, you can go to LawrenceKelemen.com or click the link in the description.